Hi, I'm by Mount Fuji, so thought what better time to talk about the top 10 films of 2008. For each film I'm going to get closer and closer and higher until I say my favourite film at the top of the mountain. When I say top film, I mean my personal favourite films. 2008 was a great year for cinema, so there's going to be loads I left off, so please include your favourites down below. And by the way, I'm not going to get up that mountain, I'll just film in random places. But it was a nice idea.
In at number 10, Iron Man.
The MCU had begun, and it started with a bang.
Has there ever been a greater casting choice than Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man? He turned this pretty good superhero origin story into a great one, and it's on the shoulders of this film that the MCU stands. What a strong foundation. Downey is witty, charismatic, and utterly charming as the shallow billionaire weapons manufacturer turned superhero. Jon Favreau's direction is fine, the rest of the cast including Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeff Bridges and Terrence Howard are alright, the action is pretty decent, the script quite good, but it's Downey that brings this film to life and makes it so watchable. Someone give that man a raise. Oh, they did. He made how much? He made how much? He made how much?
I am Iron Man.
In at number 9, Still Walking.
Hirokazu Koreeda further proves that he is the modern-day Ozu with this moving family drama. By the way, I'm in Kamakura, which is not the beach in that movie, but it's nearish.
Following a family over 24 hours, we get a tender and moving portrayal of loss and love. 12 years ago, the eldest son of the Yokoyama family drowned while trying to save a child. Now every year, the rest of the family come together to honour him. It's about complex feelings for loved ones, resentment and even hatred of those closest to us. How we can be disappointed and jealous of those that we are meant to love unconditionally. These themes and emotions in the hands of another director would lead to scenes of shouting, screaming and tears. But Koreeda creates a subtle, low-key film that is no less impactful. The performances are outstanding, and the score by acoustic duo Gontiti is beautiful. It's a deeply moving picture by a master director. In at number 8, Ip Man.
I'm in Hong Kong next to a statue of Bruce Lee, Ip Man's most famous pupil.
The real-life Ip Man, through films over the years, has taken on legendary status. He's now an almost mythical character, a peace-loving one-man army. Donnie Yen stars and is superb as the laid-back man capable of extreme violence. Set in Foshan in 1935, we see a city full of talented martial artists, all peacefully fighting each other to see who is the best. By far and away the best is Ip Man. But his calm life of tea drinking and occasional fights is interrupted by the invasion of the Japanese. His life is turned upside down, and soon his abilities are on full display as he fights the invaders. Sammo Hung's fight choreography is simply breathtaking. In at number 7, Love Exposure.
This incredibly long film is remarkably bonkers.
This 4-hour, yes 4-hour, violent, perverted, romantic comedy is absolutely mental. It's near impossible to describe its plot. It feels more like 3 TV seasons. Basically, we follow a young man in Tokyo trying to gain the respect of his insane Catholic priest father and trying to find love along the way. Along the way, he uses ninja skills to become a professional upskirt photographer, and later gets into a violent conflict with a cult. It deals with religion, obsession, and lust, all in a strangely funny way. It embraces the history of extreme Japanese cinema, even with heavy references to the female prisoner scorpion films of the 1970s. The huge ensemble cast is brilliant, but especially good is Sakura Ando, one of the greatest actresses working today. Love Exposure aims to shock, and it certainly does, but it also aims to entertain. And it won't entertain everyone, but if you're not easily offended, there's loads to enjoy. In at number 6, Wall-E.
One of Pixar's best.
This beautiful animation is at its best in the first half when it's basically dialogue-free, showing just how brave Pixar had become before making more standard animations such as Brave. We follow a robot, Wall-E, who was left alone on Earth to clean up the garbage we had left. It goes about its business in a monotonous, lonely way, but when it is visited by a more modern robot sent from space, it falls in love. It's amazing how Pixar get us to care about these two gadgets so deeply. It's genuinely touching. The animation is simply stunning. It's a true visual feast with a strong environmental message at its core.
Here are some other notable releases of 2008.
Catherine Bigelow's Hurt Locker won Best Picture at the Oscars. Woody Allen continued traveling around Europe with Vicky Cristina Barcelona. The Coens released The Wacky Burn After Reading. Vampires sparkled in Twilight. Ben Stiller directed and starred in the comedy Tropic Thunder. And David Fincher directed The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, where Brad Pitt's titular character ages backwards, ending as a baby but being born as an old man.
Speaking of old stars,
Clint Eastwood directed and starred in Gran Torino. Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas foolishly returned to the Indiana Jones saga with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Sylvester Stallone brought one of his most iconic characters back in the insanely violent Rambo. Jean-Claude Van Damme gave his very best performance in the self-knowing and reflective JCVD. And Al Pacino and Robert De Niro teamed up for the third time after The Godfather Part 2 and Heat with the atrocious Righteous Kill.
has De Niro ever had a worse piece of dialogue than this?
Rambo the skateboard pimp was my 10th kill.
For foreign cinema, you had the edge-of-your-seat Korean thriller, The Chaser. If The Godfather slightly romanticized the mafia, well then the Italian film Gomorrah shows just how despicable and ugly they are.
For British cinema, you had
Steve McQueen's directorial debut, Hunger, and Danny Boyle's energetic Slumdog Millionaire.
Right, back to my top 10.
In at number 5, In Bruges.
Martin McDonagh's feature film debut instantly shows off his unique dark humour.
Before Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell were falling out in the marvellous The Banshees of Inisherin, they were falling out in this, a dark comedy about two assassins hiding out in the picturesque Belgian city of Bruges. And similar to that later film, Farrell plays a moron and Gleeson a man growing tired of his stupid friend. Farrell's assassin Ray hates Bruges, finding it dull, while Gleeson's assassin Ken falls in love with it. Both are tremendous in the picture, and it is full to the brim with memorable dialogue.
You know you're just the rudest man. The rudest man.
What's all that about?
But with so many of McDonagh's comedy, there is more going on than just witty banter. Here Ray has overwhelming grief and guilt he is dealing with after accidentally killing a child, and Ken is struggling with the knowledge that he has been tasked with killing Ray. He's been told to do this by Ralph Fiennes, in fine form as their sweary, aggressive English boss.
Harry!
What?
It's an inanimate fucking object.
You're an inanimate fucking object!
McDonagh's movie career was off to a brilliant start.
Being in Bruges thing, just to give you one last joyful memory before you died.
In Bruges?
In at number 4, The Wrestler.
Probably the best ever film made about wrestling.
There's not a lot of stiff competition, but this film about an old professional wrestler really packs a punch. Mickey Rourke gives the performance of his career as a former star, now struggling to make ends meet. Randy the Ram Robinson rose to fame in the 1980s, but now works in a supermarket and only wrestles on the weekend in tiny venues. He lives in a trailer park, regularly visits strip clubs, and his daughter wants nothing to do with him. Marissa Tomei and Evan Rachel Wood are excellent in the film as a stripper and his daughter respectively, but this is entirely Rourke's show. It's clear his own fall from the heights of fame helped him bring this character to life. The pain and the regret seem totally real. The film has an almost documentary-like feeling, with the camera often just following right behind Rourke. I was at a screening where someone asked director Darren Aronofsky why he went for this free documentary-like camera movement, and he said that Rourke could barely remember his lines, let alone where to stand. But this all adds to the realism about pretend fighting, the bizarre world of professional wrestling. The winners are predetermined, the fights are fake, but the pain is all too real. Men and women who destroy their health for this entertainment and can't quit, even after their bodies have given up on them. This is a tremendous film about a very strange profession.
What do you want?
Well, I was wondering if I could get some more work, something, steady, full time.
Cell phone. All I got is weekends.
That works.
Isn't that when you sit on other dudes' faces?
So what do you got?
Deli counter.
Counter. Dealing with the customers and stuff?
Yeah. A parade of hot, horny housewives begging for your meat.
You got anything else?
No, I do not. You interested?
Yeah, sure.
In at number 3, The Dark Knight.
Where Batman jumped from this building to that building, or from a different perspective.
This is one of the most loved movies of all time. Why is this film about a billionaire who dresses like a bat to fight a terrorist in clown makeup considered to be an intellectual masterpiece? Well, the answer is simple: Christopher Nolan. For me, he is the modern-day Hitchcock, a superbly inventive director who makes films with themes and deeper meaning that is accessible for the masses. On a technical level, this Batman film is outstanding. The cinematography, including some stunning use of IMAX cameras, the use of practical effects in a world where that is getting scarcer and scarcer.
He missed!
And he brings together such a great team in front and behind the camera. Nolan also keeps his themes floating on the top of many of his blockbuster films. Just having the characters literally say it out loud.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Shut up!
But another huge reason this film is so beloved is Heath Ledger, a mixture of a superb performance and a terrible tragedy. I'll be the first to admit that I was very skeptical when it was announced who would play the Clown Prince of Crime. But then came the first picture, and then came the teaser trailer with just his voice. This was going to be something different, and boy oh boy was it.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't have my boy here pull your head off.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone.
The writing for the character was great, but Ledger took that and did even more. Terrifying, funny, and totally unpredictable. It is a tragedy that he died so young. Just imagine what he would have done.
Look at you. What do you believe in, huh? What do you believe in?
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
In at number 2, Let the Right One In. One of the greatest vampire films ever made. This coming-of-age romantic horror is truly twisted. Set in a small suburb of Stockholm in the 1980s, we follow a 12-year-old shy, bullied boy who becomes friends and gets a crush on a strange new child in his town. Well, he's finally got a friend, but that friend turns out to be a vampire. This is simultaneously sweet and horrible. The murders and the violence are totally original and particularly nasty, but at the same time the friendship between the two small people is genuinely touching and moving. The snow-filled streets add to the strange atmosphere. It's a barren-looking film with sparse sets and stark cinematography. The sound design and the score are also quiet and subtle, so when the occasional moments of violence occur, it totally takes you by surprise. There have been countless films about vampires, but this manages to add a new spin on it. Vampires seducing and getting people to do their bidding is nothing new. But here the vampire's first helper is a truly wonderfully pathetic character. A man struggling to kill, to feed this thing. And the vampire's slow building of friendship and even romance with the little boy is genuinely unsettling. It's a remarkable film. And in at number 1, Waltz with Bashir. One of the greatest war films made this century. An animated, half-documentary, hallucinatory film about the atrocities of war. Director Ari Folman uses this film as a sort of therapy, looking back at his involvement in the 1982 Lebanon War. He has a vague memory of the war and not much else. He goes in search of what happened, interviewing people he fought alongside with. Through these interviews we then see animated, imaginative versions of what happened to them, the actual battles and dreams they were having at the time. It is beautiful, upsetting and totally riveting, a war film like no other. The animation is stunning and the sound and soundtrack remarkable. It all builds to a massacre, and then the film shockingly shows real footage, which is very hard to watch, but it was important to show that this did indeed happen. It is a film about man's inhumanity to man, about fear and conflict, and the guilt that remains. A passionate anti-war film, totally unique and has so many images and fascinating details into soldiers' thought processes that linger with you. Documentaries can be limited in what they show, but by using animation, it really feels like you enter these men's minds and memories. A hard watch, but a great one.
So counting down my top 10.
In at number 10, Iron Man. In at number 9, Still Walking. In at number 8, Ip Man. In at number 7, Love Exposure. In at number 6, Wall-E. In at number 5, In Bruges. In at number 4, The Wrestler. In number 3, The Dark Knight. In at number 2, Let the Right One In. And in at number 1, Waltz with Bashir. Well, those are my top 10 films of 2008. What did I miss out? Loads, probably. So what are your top 10 films of 2008? Cheers.